Hello everyone, my name is Afro Artist. Today I bring you another video about a third installment of the Garden Warfare series. This time around I shall be discussing character changes, specifically on the plant side. Before I do, I just want to say that I'm glad I was able to reach quite a few people on my first proper video on YouTube, and thank you all for watching it. If you haven't already, why not go check it out, a link will be in the description. Second, I got a few comments talking about potential new characters and I love the ideas, however I have most of this idea put down. That doesn't mean that I won't include them in the upcoming videos. I may make a DLC video that'll include extra ideas I've come up with and some that you guys have thought up of. I want this idea to be able to blossom and maybe even get PopCap inspired to try and make a new game, or at the least get as many people to pitch in their own idea for a PvZ GW3 game, only time will tell. With all that being said, let us begin. To begin things, I must point out a certain rule I've set. These changes are going off from BFN, not Garden Warfare 2. Essentially every character before this game would be their BFN version and would have changes based off of those versions. So for example, Captain Deadbeard wouldn't have Cannon Rodeo and Cactus wouldn't have Tall Nuts. With that out of the way, let us start with the first plant changes. Pea Shooter, which is actually mostly unchanged. I actually really like Pea Shooter in BFN and most of its variants aren't half bad either. While Pogo Peas can be very annoying and in comparison Rock Pea is pretty bad, they all are fine in my personal opinion. However, Electro Pea. Oh, Electro Pea. It's 100% getting the E-Citron treatment. A simple damage nerf, that's all. This'll apply to the other manual detonation characters, by the way. Seriously, 40 damage is a bit much for basically better splash damage. Moving on to Chomper, who has quite a few changes not only to himself but to a few of his variants as well. First off, Chomper no longer has Slobber Shot. I never liked the fact that a melee character could snipe you from a mile away and it does quite a bit of damage. Second, Chomper would have his normal goop back. Meanwhile, Groody Goop would be an ability that'll be unlocked through the sticker shop. It also wouldn't cause toxic damage and would hit less damage. After that, Chomper can back swallow again. In order to do so though, you must press the aim button to back swallow a zombie. I mean, come on, we've all had that moment where you try to bite someone but accidentally eat them. Next up, Spikeweed will be placed in front of you again, however it takes longer to deploy, as well as engineers and other characters who's not exactly on the ground cannot be ensnared in it. In Engineer's case, he's on a jackhammer, so it should just go straight through. This also applies to Wizard since he floats while running. Last little bits, Chomper's overall bite damage is nerfed and can't swallow any zombie that's bigger than All-Star. These changes really just revert Chomper back to his Garden Warfare 2 version. Next character is Toxic Chomper, which is just him getting the new Toxic effect, which, if you recall, once applied to a zombie, will make them hit less damage to a plant. Also, Toxic Chomper's Toxic effect does not activate if you spam the button. This applies to every character that you can do this with, especially Rhodey Z. Next up we have Chomp Thing, who is no longer a spray chomper. That's it, lol. Finally, for the chompers is Yeti Chomper, who instead of that arching attack it now has its primary similar to Slobber Shot. Yeah, I originally thought of just making Yeti Chomper just be a spray chomper, but that get rid of his uniqueness, so I decided he's the only chomper to have Slobber Shot. Next character on the list is Colonel Corn. Now I like Corn, he's my second favorite plant to play as. So just like many others, I truly hate what they did to him in BFN. So I'm basically returning him back to how he was in GW2. Butter Beacon will be an unlockable ability, while Husk Hop is getting a damage nerf. Not too bad, but enough to where if you hit AZ Mech with the full thing it won't kill it instantly. Oh, and Husk Hop has a lot less splash. You're welcome. After that, Barbecue Corn will hit more damage in general. He really needs it, Mob Cobb's gimmick changes from being a character who can pierce, which barely works by the way, to now his primary's projectile bounces. They will bounce twice before disappearing. Lastly, we have Party Corn. This is a change that affects all the party characters. They all no longer have a legendary meter and is no longer a legendary character. They all have their gimmick changed a tad, so they're not just worse stock character. So if you don't like the party changes, let me know what you would change about them. Anyways, Party Corn is now a much faster Corn in general. He moves faster, shoots faster, and is faster at getting kills. Still hits less than Colonel Corn but has a massive ammo clip. After that it's Nightcap, who simply has what she should have had from the very fucking start.
Damage. Drop off.
The BFN devs were so stubborn on not having it in the game that it really made most characters snipers because of it. Don't worry, every character from BFN has damage drop-off where it's applicable. Moving on, we have Snapdragon, who simply is a mythical character and can jump higher like the Garden Warfare 2 version of Superbrains. If you're wondering why I decided to make Snapdragon a mythical character, it's pretty simple, for two reasons. Snapdragon is a very strong character and thus giving him variants would be disastrous. Secondly, it'll be kinda weird to give characters with elements any variants. I want to keep with the rules that changing a variant doesn't change how one of their abilities work. For example, you can't do fire damage with P Gatling as your fire P. So how the fuck does the fire abilities work for an ice variant for Snapdragon? Sorry, but that's what I'm rolling with. Next is Base Cactus, hole up. Petal Propeller ability. Can now push zombies back as well as damage them a little bit if they are too close. While Petal Propeller is a good ability to get out of situations, it's not that good, so why not give it a slight buff, that way you can use it to get the hell away from a Superbrains or Scientist. Her primary when out of scope is now less accurate and is more akin to a minigun, one that doesn't require too much aim to use, you know? That way it's just a tad bit easier to hit someone who's close to you. Oh, also Cactus is now an attack character. Fire, Electric, and Ice Cactus all do less damage than Base Cactus when using their scoped primary. Jesus, imagine getting shot by Ice Cactus and instantly get frozen with 99% of your HP gone. Yeah, no thanks. Since all cactuses have a primary similar to Bandit Cactus's main gimmick, she of course has a new gimmick as well. Bandit Cactus is now a burst character. Oh, and don't worry, she doesn't hit as much as Reg Cactus either. Camo Cactus meanwhile doesn't have the SMG like out of scope primary but instead is nearly exactly the same as she was in GW2, except now a headshot can deal up to 125 damage. Yeah, have fun in this hypothetical GW3 game with Camo Cactus running around. Finally, for cactuses is Petrified Cactus, who simply hits less damage. Other than that, she's just like how she was in GW2, just with a new out of scope primary. Next up is Citron. Man, I feel like they butchered my boy. That zombie, yellin' orange son of a bitch got turned into a horrible wombo combo of Reinhardt and a weak-ass all-star that hits the exact same crit damage as his non-crit damage. And thus I'm giving him his laser back. Fuck you. Naval Laser is replaced by a new ability called Juiced Up, which heals Citron. If his health is full, it'll give him overhealth instead. Also, he gets a size increase to help better sell his tank role. Meanwhile, Electric Citron gains the primary of BFN Citron and can no longer charge it. Don't worry, this primary actually hits more critical damage. Just like Party Corn, Party Citron is no longer a legendary character and is now more of a assault like Citron, moving a bit faster and hitting more damage but has less health. Lastly, Toxic Citron now has a beam instead of a shitty squirt gun. I'm sorry, but man, Toxic Citron sucks, and I think this will help him be a bit better. Oh, also to make it less OP or clarification, I don't know, the new Toxic effect takes place halfway from overheating. Next is Acorn and Oak, who is now more like Imp, aka you have to wait to get your Oak. Honestly, the whole team up gimmick sounds cool on paper but just isn't that fun. name one time you used it and it actually helped you or you used it in general. Yeah, didn't think so. With these new changes, Acorn and Oak is now an attack character. Oak also has armor to be similar to the Z-Mech. Oak's log cannon does more damage but is more accurate and has a bit less splash. And of course Oak is on a timer and Acorns can no longer hop on top of his head. If you're a fan of the current Acorn and Oak in BFN, then sorry, but I don't think his secondary gimmick is that good. Next up, Iceberg Lettuce, which, yeah, I know, she wasn't in the game so I can't really say much, but I have seen what she was gonna be like, so all I really have to say is that she's a mythical character and does ice damage. Now for my number one favorite plant, Sunflower. I really like Sunflower. I don't know why, but she's a lot of fun for me to play, not as a healer but as a murder machine that can do some pretty serious damage. Now I don't mind her in BFN, though I much prefer her in GW2, so she's getting reverted back to that state. Sunny Side Up will be an ability that can be unlocked through sticker packs, as I really like the Heal Flower ability. It's so good, plus it can get you to high ground. I even named him. His name is Larry and it'd be awesome if everyone else calls the Heal Flower Larry from now on. Thank you. As for her variants, really other than maybe Metal Petal moving a bit quicker, which could be fixed with upgrades you get for her, none of the Sunflower variants really need that much tuning, so I say that she's the one and only character that has none of their variants changed up. They're all perfect to me. If anyone objects, let me know which Sunflower needs some tuning. I could be very biased here. Moving on to Rose, who honestly, I kinda fuck with in BFN, so other than Jinx getting replaced by Time Snare again, Rose is pretty much identical to her BFN version. Druid Rose gets changed to where she doesn't hit as much damage, as I feel the new toxic effect would have been too OP with her. Party Rose, again like the other party characters, no longer is a legendary variant and now is a tanky Rose. Yes, I'm that evil, but not too evil as she'll hit much less damage. Finally, for the plants, Torchwood. I think it's self-explanatory why he's a mythical character now. I also think it's self-explanatory why I'm getting rid of Leaf Shield. Dear God, Leaf Shield is so fucking strong it's unreal, makes Torchwood nearly invincible. So instead I'm replacing it with an ability called Flame Spout, which has him shoot fireballs from his head and hit down wherever the character's crosshair is aimed at. Of course it has a limited range, can't snipe someone with it. A fun thing you can do with it is you can combine it with Smoldering Madness. The attack does more damage but will take a good portion of the Smoldering Madness meter. After that, Blazing Blast does a bit less damage and Torchwood gets a health buff to help compensate for the lack of a Leaf Shield. And with that, the plant changes are done. As promised, I'll show off my redesigns for some characters. For the 3 variants I changed up the metal characters plus Rock P. I'm sure many of us can agree that their designs did not look that cool. So taking a page out of Iron Citron's book, as well as the general idea to redesign characters from Wolfie Plays, I made Metal Petal and Iron Chomper into knights, which I think looks so much better, especially Chomper. The blues and purples fit pretty nicely. As for Rock P, he was just very ugly in my opinion, and thus made Rock P look more like a sort of insentient floating rock creature that just so happens to be in the shape of a pea shooter. I don't fucking know, it's better than Tumor P, okay? As for the BFN characters, I changed them up only a little bit. I really like their designs, they are very solid. Really it's just to fit the Garden Warfare aesthetic a bit more. Well, Acorn and Oak was mostly changed due to not having their original gimmick, so now Oak has a big OL leaf afro. Iceberg Lettuce I changed cause I had the idea to give her a sort of fluffy snowy scarf thing, you know? Finally, Torchwood, I wanted him to have a different design from the boss Torchwood to make him more distinguishable. I didn't want to give him the Captain Combustible fit as I feel that would be too obvious and could be a sort of boss hunt character instead of being a playable character. So I took one of the costumes you can get for Torchwood in Plants vs. Zombies 2 and gave him goggles. I also added fire to his shoulders. Works well for Adult Heat Blast from Ben 10 and I think it works very well for Torchwood here. Finally I gave him a scar. This Torchwood is way different from the other Torchwoods. I wonder what his story is and what changed him from a generic Torchwood to this version. Who knows, maybe I'll come up with a backstory for all the mythical characters and put in the YouTube shorts. Anyways, there we have it. These are all the changes I would make to the characters and variants to the plants in my hypothetical Garden Warfare 3 game. After this, it's now on to the zombie changes. I'll also make a short where I talk about a few new abilities you can get for the plants. Also, I must admit, I've been mostly working on the plant side, so the zombie video may take a bit longer before I even begin working on it. For now, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and share this video with your PvZ friends. Keep an eye out for some of my shorts where I post random time lapses and hopefully some fun short videos about certain things. One last thing before I end this video, sorry that it took a while to get this second video out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a massive procrastinator and I tend to put things off a lot. My next video won't be the PvZ Garden Warfare 3 idea, but instead I'll be talking about hero shooters games and why I love them and think the genre is dying out, so stay tuned. And with that said, see you later.